Tonight on Dan Abrams Live, should those who were just trespassing during the January 6th riot at the Capitol have the book thrown at them too? A new plea deal and a judge's comments about a woman who spent minutes or even seconds on the Capitol grounds is raising the question. And breaking tonight, after 13 years, Britney Spears no longer has control over his daughter's affairs. The judge agreeing with Britney, even going so far as to call the relationship toxic. But if it was so toxic, why hasn't the conservatorship ended already?
Shot in the face! You shot my dog.
Not one, but two K-9s taking bullets meant for deputies. The whole thing caught on body cam. How are those brave dogs doing tonight? The deputies and the dogs will be here live. Plus, progressive voices underrepresented in the media? You heard that right. A major journalism publication is making that claim. I've got news for you. I don't think it's true. Get ready for a debate. Dan Abrams Live starts right now. Good evening and welcome to the show. You know, any reasonable person will agree that the riot at the Capitol on January 6th was a dark, dark day. But should the people who just trespassed, who didn't break windows, didn't attack anyone, didn't even go into private offices, get the book thrown at them? The images of would-be insurrectionists storming the Capitol, breaking into congressional office, and most important to me, attacking law enforcement, was a travesty. In the nearly 9 months since the incident, law enforcement across the country has undertaken a massive effort to find the rioters and hold them accountable. Okay, but earlier today, two Ohio men became the first January 6 defendants to receive jail time for misdemeanor charges, each pleading guilty to single counts of disorderly conduct in the Capitol. Prosecutors had asked for the defendants to be sentenced to 4 months each. The judge sentenced them to 45 days each. Now, of the more than 600 people who've been charged, less than 80 remain in jail pending trial. None of those who are there still are for minor misdemeanors. The majority of those still detained are accused of assaulting police officers. Nearly half of those charged in connection with the attack faced misdemeanors that typically carry little or no prison time for first offenders. In fact, in many cases, judges handed down fairly light sentences. Of the 9 misdemeanor offenders sentenced to date, 5 received probation. Prosecutors didn't seek additional time for 2 others who were held in pretrial detention for 6 months. They were held in part because of past convictions that they had. For months, some federal judges have scrutinized the no-prison plea deals offered to these low-level January 6 defendants, questioning whether the arrangements are too lenient to deter future attackers from terrorizing members of Congress. For instance, Judge Emmett Sullivan pressed prosecutors on Tuesday about why they chose not to charge one woman with threatening a U.S. official after she said on a video she made after leaving the Capitol that she had hoped to shoot Speaker Nancy Pelosi, quote, in the friggin' brain. Now, instead, Dawn Bancroft pleaded guilty to parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building, a misdemeanor. She's scheduled to be sentenced in January. She faces up to 6 months in prison. But unlike Judge Sullivan, I don't have an issue with the Bancroft deal and think she should be treated just like anyone else who committed this crime. To be clear, the 2 guys sentenced today were accused of spending 40 minutes in the Capitol, going into Speaker Pelosi's conference room, and inciting other rioters. And let's ask for the max for anyone who assaulted a police officer, or even those that broke windows to enter the building. Fair enough. But according to the original indictment, Bancroft and another defendant walked through a broken window and were in the Capitol for maybe a minute or less and then left. The 2 guys today got 45 days. Bancroft should get no time, or at least a lot less. Making incendiary comments after you leave the Capitol is reprehensible. I don't think it should mean she gets charged with an additional crime. Key fact, there have been no what are called deferred prosecution agreements offered to any January 6 defendants, even though that is what would typically happen with many low-level misdemeanors. Furthermore, many of those demanding the toughest sentences for January 6th seem willing to provide excuses or understanding for those who committed violent or at least property crimes during the civil unrest in the summer of 2020. Here to discuss is the former U.S. Attorney, Michael Moore. He served on the Terrorism and National Security Subcommittee of the Attorney General's Advisory Committee. He is currently a partner at Moore Hall, LLC. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time. Appreciate it. All right, so do you agree with me that when it comes to someone like a Bancroft, trespasses for 30 seconds to a minute, that the judges should be lenient? Why? Because that's what they would do in any other case.
You know, I really don't agree with you, and this is sort of a simple test for me. If somebody breaches the Capitol, whether they stand in there for 30 minutes or whether they wander around, you know, the statuary hall for 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. I think at that point they should be charged with a more serious crime and maybe looking at some jail time. You know, trespass is really what we think about when somebody's picketed on the steps of the Capitol and they're told to move by the Capitol Police. And at that point, maybe then, yeah, let's have a misdemeanor because they're outside. But once they breach the Capitol, once they came inside the government building in an effort, and I don't think anybody can, well, I know people do disagree with this, but you mentioned about reasonable people. I don't think reasonable people disagree with this. There was an effort to disrupt the function of Congress. Once that happened, then I think that they ought to be charged with a felony and look at some amount of jail time.
But I think what we're doing, what I fear we're doing here is we're talking about collective judgment, right? I mean, criminal defense lawyers are always talking about, you got to judge my guy separately from the other person, right? You got to look at what my client did. And suddenly, a lot of those same people are saying, no, actually forget that when it comes to this incident. In this incident, we need to judge everyone together. And no matter how little my client did, they still need to be responsible for the deeds of everybody else.
No, I think you could do individualized judgment, but you do it based on a particular offense. So, for instance, if everybody who entered the Capitol was facing a felony charge, well, then you have individualized judgment about what the punishment should be. That is, do you serve 6 months? Do you serve 100 days? Do you serve 45 days, as you mentioned earlier? At that point, the judge can take into factors take into account those factors that might mitigate the sentence or enhance the sentence as he or she thought was appropriate. And that's a very different thing than saying it's just collectively everybody who was gathered at the Trump rally that day ought to be charged with some type of felony for attempting to overthrow the government or disrupt the orderly function of Congress. So I think those are different, and there's still room within the judicial discretion to look at individuals and the factors of each individual case.
Right, but I'm distinguishing between the people who were encouraging other rioters, the people who broke the windows, certainly the people who attacked police officers, that one's an easy call, from the people, because there's been a lot of talk about the trespassers, right? The inaccurate talk about it has been the notion that some of them are still being held without bail. That's not true. Sure. But when it comes to what should happen to them, I do think that the court system should ensure that they're not getting tougher treatment because other people there that day were so bad. And I think that is I mean, I know you're not quite saying it, but it sounds like you're kind of saying that. You're kind of saying, well, you know what? They were all in this together. They were all in there to overthrow the government. And as a result, even if they were there for 30 seconds, it doesn't matter to you. 30 seconds and 30 minutes is the same thing.
Yeah, let's think about the person that was in the group and decided that he or she should not enter the Capitol, that they decided to stand on the steps. Maybe they didn't disperse when they were told to, and they were charged with some misdemeanor offense. Do you think that person ought to get the same punishment as somebody who goes into the Capitol after actually breaches the Capitol, goes inside? It's like somebody running down the security concourse at the airport. They run through security. It doesn't matter if they stand there for 15 minutes inside there or 30 seconds. They've done it. These people breach the Capitol.
That's fine. They're going to be charged. They're going to be charged. I accept that. She's going to get a misdemeanor. But what I'm saying is, it sounds like you and a lot of other people out there want to be even tougher on them and don't want to say that it's different for the people who just stepped on the Capitol grounds from the people who engaged in much worse conduct. And I understand you're saying that, there could be different crimes there. I'm not saying I have sympathy. What I am saying is I want to ensure that the justice system works equally. And that's my primary concern.
But we do that anyway, even if you think about state crimes. If you step on my yard, that may be a trespass. If you break into my house, that's a felony burglary. That's a difference. Whether you stay in my house for 30 seconds or whether you're in there for an hour looting through the jewelry drawer. So we already recognize that there's a distinction between the curtilage, people on the curtilage, and those people who actually breached the building. So all I'm saying is that we ought to be looking at the people who actually breached inside the building. Let's charge them with a serious crime. Then the judge can make a decision about, are there any factors that mitigate for it, or, for lesser punishment or enhanced punishment.
But this judge seemed to be looking for something more. This judge seemed to be looking for a way to charge this woman who spent 30 seconds on the Capitol with an additional crime, and that concerned me. So, final one.
I understand that we want justice to have an even hand. I think the question here is, these things will get taken up at sentencing, and as you well know, in a sentencing hearing, all these other factors and all these other factual scenarios, many of them will come in, and the judge can consider that and whether or not to give a greater sentence or whether or not to give a lesser sentence. So. He's probably like the rest of us, too, and was just disgusted at what happened on January the 6th, and he's having to watch these 600 people come in here and take up court time.
But I don't want judges acting emotionally.
I get it.
I got it. But I don't want him reacting out of emotion. You and I can do that. I don't want the judges doing that because I want people to maintain faith in our judges. I got to wrap it up. Great conversation. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to be with you. Thank you.
Coming up, Britney's dad is out as conservator. This is breaking news, but she's still not running her own affairs. We are going to unpack the drama from tonight's hearing, still going on, and asking if the conservatorship is so toxic, why didn't it end years ago? Why is it still not over tonight? And progressives underrepresented in the media? Yes, underrepresented. That is the claim. Coming up. Got some breaking news. In a hearing that just ended, a California judge did not terminate the Britney Spears conservatorship, but she gave her something that she has been fighting for, freedom from her dad. Judge Brenda Penny named an accountant named John Zabel, who Spears and her lawyer had requested to temporarily manage her estate as her new conservator. Judge Penny calling the suspension of Jamie Spears as conservator as, quote, in the best interest of Britney, called the environment surrounding the conservatorship, quote, toxic. But what I still don't get is if she can decide on her lawyer and now her conservator, why does she need a conservatorship at all today? Now, it does seem like that conservatorship could still be over soon. There's going to be a new hearing on November the 12th to determine if that conservatorship ends. The pop star's dad, in this case, Jamie Spears, has controlled the conservatorship, at least in part, since its implementation in 2008. He said he's okay with ending the conservatorship, but if it was going to continue, he objected to the new guy, Zabel. He lost that argument today. Britney has called the conservatorship abusive. Her attorney celebrated the judge's decision.
Today is a great day. It's a great day for Britney Spears, and it's a great day for justice.
So I talked about this last night, and today's ruling leaves me with some of the same questions. There's now a temporary replacement conservator. What don't we know, though, still about Britney's conditioning? Why aren't they ending it immediately? Remember what she was talking about in court? Remember how bad she was saying it was? Now, protesters today in California marched in support of her. Politicians have been getting into it, calling for conservatorship reform, et cetera. And, I still have those questions. And hopefully, attorney Andy Mayoris has some answers. He's worked on numerous cases surrounding conservatorships and asset disputes. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All right, so they're characterizing this as a big win, right? You get this new conservator there who's overseeing Britney's life. And there's going to be another hearing in a month from now. But if you listen to Britney Spears in court the other day, and I'm going to play in a minute some sound of it, she sounds like she needs out of it immediately. And yet no one on her side, her new lawyer, is rushing to end that. Why? And what does that tell us about what we don't know?
Well, Dan, I think there's really two reasons. First and foremost is Britney and her lawyer want to now use the conservatorship in her favor to help them in their investigation and pursuing claims against Jamie Spears and perhaps others involved in the conservatorship. So Jamie Spears and his lawyer were actually asking the court today to terminate the conservatorship today. Britney's lawyer opposed that because they want to use the conservatorship process to help get ready to assert those claims. That's reason number one. And number two, it's very hard when you're dealing with this much money, this much in assets, and these many business decisions to face to transition all at once. So the next several weeks are going to be a wind down period and a transition process to put steps in place so Britney can take control of her life and her finances again. Remember, today's hearing was just about conservatorship of the estate, the financial issues. So those issues do need some time. Britney, I believe, will be put back in control of her own finances, but it's going to be on her timeline and her lawyer's timeline, and it will work out better for her in the end this way.
All right, I get that on the conservatorship with regard to the estate, right? It takes some time. You don't want to, unravel things too quickly. The more important one to me is the conservatorship of her person. Meaning, as you know, typically to have a conservatorship, you're talking about someone with like dementia or someone who really can't make decisions at all for him or herself. And yet what I don't get is based on what Britney Spears said in court about this and about being controlled and about people watching her, et cetera. If she's fine to now move on, why didn't her lawyer ask months ago? Why didn't her lawyer demand that the conservatorship over her person end immediately?
Well, Jamie Spears is not in charge of Britney Spears' person. He does no longer has the authority to make her non-financial decisions, medical placement, et cetera. That is coming. I do believe that's coming. But clearly, Britney and her legal team are more comfortable with Jody Montgomery, the conservator of the person, and feel like they can address that situation in good time. They wanted to go after what they viewed as the bigger problem, which was her father. And of course, that was mission number one, job accomplished today. But they will transition to all of it. I'm confident of that.
But again, why do you have to choose between them? I mean, you make it sound like, they have to focus on one at a time. Again, based on her own words about wanting out of this immediately. She doesn't want a medical examination. She wants it to go. She wants it to end. And yet her lawyer hasn't been asking for it to end, at least not yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the legal strategy behind why they chose to attack it this way. I can only surmise that this obviously has been a 13-year process, and any efforts, and they've been limited, but the limited efforts that Britney has tried in the past have not gone well for her. So her lawyer probably developed a strategy that was going to target the greatest problem first, Jamie Spears. And once he's out of the picture, getting the conservatorship of the person to end, getting the conservatorship of the estate to end, is going to be much easier with Jamie Spears out of the picture.
Yeah. And my take on this is that there's still a lot we don't know. And I think that that's part of the answer here, which is there's a reason that this conservatorship started. There's a reason, in my view, that her lawyer hasn't been demanding immediately that it end. And I think we're going to learn more about that as well. Andy, great stuff. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Oh, you got it.
Coming up, 2 K-9s protecting their deputies shot by a carjacking suspect. The deputies are alive tonight thanks to K-9s who took bullets for them. We're going to hear their harrowing stories live. Coming up. Welcome back. As always, we'll be showing you a side of policing rarely seen in the mainstream media. Some of the dangers law enforcement officers and first responders face on the job every day. And that includes police dogs. An armed carjacking suspect shot 2 K-9s in Florida as deputies closed in on him. It was all caught on body cameras. Now, we want to warn you, some viewers may find this video disturbing.
Pocket, buddy, pocket! No, here! Sorry, get him out there. Here! Come here! Yeah. Come here, buddy! buddy. You're all right. That's a good buddy. That's all right. Hey, buddy. You're all right. Buddy, come here. Hey. Hey, come here, buddy. Come on, bud. Do you need help? No, I got it. Come on, buddy.
One hand working from
Good boy. Come on, buddy. That a dog.
We'll give you guys.
See the blood on the deputy's hand there. The sheriff's department alerted the veterinarian as Deputy A.J. Davis took his K-9 axe for immediate treatment after the dog was shot in the face by the suspect. Now, while the deputy was getting that assistance, the other deputies at the scene continued the search. They found the suspect near an apartment complex, and that's when he opened fire again, shooting a second police dog. Deputies finally took the suspect into custody. He's facing charges including armed carjacking and use of a deadly weapon against a police K-9. The deputies were not injured. Oh, I got to take a deep breath, because joining me now are Deputies A.J. Davis and Brett Whitson of the Volusia County Sheriff's Department. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Deputy Davis, if you can, take me through this. The Sheriff's Department was looking for, what, an armed robbery suspect? Tell us how it unfolded.
Yeah, it came out as a carjacking. It was a Uber or Lyft driver. He took someone to a remote area, and when they got out there, he used a gun and stole the car. I got on scene on that first, actually, and then another deputy saw the vehicle and saw the male flee out of it on foot. I drove across town, got there as soon as I could. I got a good group of guys together, Deputy Whitson and another K-9 handler that was with me. And we deployed the K-9 axe to apprehend him. It was pretty dark. And by the time he got in there, obviously you could see pretty close to the vehicles. He was on the suspect. He was apprehending him. And that's when I heard the first shot. And my biggest concern was getting him out of there. I had full confidence that these guys would keep me safe, and I just pulled with everything I had. And when I saw him come back, I could see the blood just pouring out of his face, and I knew I didn't need to render first aid. I just needed to get him somewhere as quick as possible.
Now, Deputy Davis, you and Axe were looking for the suspect when he shot Axe. Tell us what's going through your mind as you're rushing Axe to the vet.
A million different things. Trying to keep him awake, normally 10 out of 10 days, he's full of spunk and he's wanting to go. And every time I look back there, he was just laying down in a pool of blood. And I was trying to just, keep him up, just high praise that he did a good job. He was doing good. I turned the light on because at some points he wasn't moving, and I just wanted to make sure he was still alive. And it was the longest rides of my life to that vet hospital, and I didn't know if I'd get there, even if he'd be alive. And when I got there and he was, and I could finally give him to the professionals, it was a big sense of relief. But a lot of it was going through my mind about, is he going to make it?
Of course, absolutely. Deputy Whitson, talk to us about the search. What did you know at that time? Did you know about what had happened to Axe? And talk to us about that moment when you found him.
Yeah, so when Deputy Davis deployed Axe, I was just to the right of him. I was one of his backup units that went on the initial search. So this guy had already displayed a want to kill us or to kill others. So it was very real in my mind that he had shot at us once and he's possibly going to shoot us again. And after that initial shooting, we had a helicopter that kept him in constant observation throughout the next hour and a half. So as he would move, we would just tighten up the reins around him and ensuring that we held him in that perimeter that we had established.
Yeah. Deputies, if I could ask you guys to sit there for a minute, we can see what's going on. We asked you to kind of keep them a little bit to the side for now, because the question everyone wants to know is, how are those dogs doing? They are going to be with us. They're with you right now. I'll give everyone a clue. It's good news. There he is.
Yeah,
coming up.
There's Axe.
We'll come back. Love it. Hey, Axe. What's up, Axe? Oh, they're both in. We're coming right back. We're back. We're talking with the deputies from Florida who arrested a carjacking suspect earlier this month who shot their police dogs, 2 of them. It was all captured on body cam. Deputy A.J. Davis rushed K-9 Axe to a vet for treatment. The suspect then shot K-9 Endo just before deputies took him into custody. And we are happy to say that the dogs survived and are recovering from their injuries. And joining us again are deputies A.J. Davis and Brett Whitson. And now they are joined by their K-9s, Axe, the first dog that you saw there, and Endo, the second dog. Let's talk about Axe if we can. Love to be able to see him. He was shot in the face. So tell us how he's doing.
As you can see, he's doing good. The wound on the other side. He's getting his spunk back. But yeah, it actually went through his face, and it traveled actually to his stomach, which he got very lucky. That it didn't do any damage to his stomach or anything else. He actually swallowed the projectile. So it went into his face. I think the video you see where he does the hacking right before we get in the car is what I believe is him swallowing a hot bullet. And he had some damage to his throat, his esophagus, but no organs, nothing. I mean, we got extremely lucky. And they did surgery, they got it out, and he's been healing ever since, and he's doing really well. I mean, we're taking it slow, not to get him back too fast, but as you can see, he's still got some spunk to him. He's a pretty young dog, so he's got a lot of fight to him still left.
It's great. And tell us about Endo. Tell us a little bit more about what happened to Endo and how he's doing today.
Here I know. So Endo was shot in the jaw initially when he was making the apprehension, and he was also shot in his left paw. He still has a bandage on his left paw, but his recovery has been really quick as well. Any type of pad injury on a canine is tough because you can't just stay off of it. So, but I mean, given the circumstances, he's doing very well. He's an older dog. This is not his first run-in with a bullet. He was shot in 2015 as well. So he's some people say that he's not a canine and he's a feline because he's got 9 lives, but he's done well to protect me.
And Deputy Davis, I mean, as you're driving your dog to the vet, some people may not realize the bond that you develop as the handler for some of these dogs. This is like a partner, right?
And it's more than that. This is somebody who, if I was where he was at, I would have taken that bullet. I mean, this is somebody who we train, we live together, we do everything. If I get into this uniform and leave without him, it's weird for both of us. He doesn't like it and I don't like it. Having to drive, my patrol vehicle with nothing in the back at some points is very eerie. He's more than a partner. He's a good friend, and you do have a very special bond with him.
And what's amazing to me is Endo, for example, had to be pulled off the suspect, right? Even after being shot. I mean, that's how sort of committed the dog was to the mission.
Yeah. So I didn't see the first gunshot. I didn't see when he was shot the first time. When I made it to the suspect, I could see Endo was on him and I made a capture. And then I saw when he got shot again, and he came off for just a brief moment that went back right through going to work and holding that guy for us.
Wow. Well, I can tell you one thing. I can assure you that the audience watching this is so relieved that they're both okay. And I guess I'll ask you both to give give them each a hug for all of us watching from here, because I think we all feel invested now in what happened. Watching this, watching you guys, watching those hero dogs. So thank you guys for coming on, and please thank your pooches in whatever way you can. For all.
We will. And the outpouring of everybody has just been awesome. It really has been, and we appreciate everybody.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Wow. All right, I got to switch gears here. Progressives not getting enough airtime. That is somehow being stated as a fact by one of the nation's most prestigious journalism publications. We're debating it up next. A far-fetched idea is taking hold among some journalism watchdogs, some media critics. It's the premise that the media is not liberal enough, that more partisan left-wing voices are needed to offset the conservative media. You see it on Twitter every weekend, where the Sunday show hosts become punching bags on the left for committing the journalistic high crime of inviting conservatives on their programs. Over the last month, Politico has been blasted by liberals over articles like their recent profile of former Assistant HHS Secretary Michael Caputo. That story was sort of a measured, nuanced portrait of a former cabinet official coming to terms with his support for Donald Trump. We were slammed by many on the left for publishing it. A recent article touching on this topic, published by the Columbia Journalism Review, caught my attention for a take that I found almost to be laughable. In a profile of the progressive MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan, writer John Alsop advanced the notion that there just aren't enough liberals working in media. He said, quote, genuinely tough interviewers are rare on American TV, as are strong progressive voices. Hasan is both, asserted the glowing profile from what is supposed to be an objective media watchdog. Quote, as in the U.S., Alsop continued, voices of the left have been traditionally underrepresented in the British media. I was literally floored when I read that. I think the numbers are clear. The Washington Post polled around 1,700 journalists back in 2020. 78% said they identify with a political ideology, and of those 78%, 80% call themselves liberal. Back in 2017, Harvard conducted a definitive study on media bias. They measured the tone of coverage for the first 100 days of the last few presidencies. 80% of President Trump's coverage was negative. Compare that to just 41% of President Obama's. And for those of you who think that you can just write off Trump's high negatives because it's Trump, President George W. Bush got mostly negative press as well. 57% of his coverage was negative. I mean, watch 5 minutes of CNN or MSNBC, read a few pages in the New York Times or Washington Post. Most national broadcast news channels, just about any major city publication, maybe most importantly, talk to the folks who work at these places, and any fair-minded news consumer, I think, would snicker at the notion the American news media is lacking in progressive voices. Now, obviously, conservatives don't share that viewpoint. A most recent annual poll from Gallup, which has tracked media trust over the past decades, shows 73% of Democrats trust the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. Compare that to just 10% of Republicans. And yes, it's true. Conservative hosts own radio. Progressive hosts simply have not been able to develop the followings on radio that conservatives have there. But in every other area of media, I don't think it's close. The reason Fox News is so successful is because it's been seen as counter-programming to everyone else. Maddow, Hayes, Reed, Cooper, Keeler, Berman. And have you seen MSNBC or CNN on weekends? Let me be clear. I don't think the media as a whole is as liberal as some on the far right would have you believe. And I give credit to a lot of liberal journalists who make an effort to be fair. But it definitely leans to the left. And for a supposed media critic and educational publication like the prestigious Columbia Journalism Review to suggest otherwise shows, I think, that they're living in an alternate universe and have given up on any effort at objectivity. But I don't know. Someone who may live in said universe is Jonathan Harris. I don't know. We'll see if he does. He's a Democratic political commentator, frequently seen on Fox News and MSNBC. He's gotten in viral debates with a lot of conservatives, including Tucker. Hey, thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. So
Sure thing.
you actually agree with this notion that there aren't enough liberal voices in the media?
I think the first problem is that people tend to see what they want to see. I think that if you watch Fox News, all you're going to see everywhere else is liberalism, because that's what they tell you to see. But I think the reality is it's always been a tough sell for me when Republicans say, oh, we're not the mainstream media, but Fox News is the most watched cable news channel in the country. And that's the reality of it. When you look at other stations, they view CNN as far left, right? Because Trump said to. Trump said CNN is far left. It's not. It's actually fairly center. You have some left hosts like Don Lemon, perhaps, and things like that. But I think they're not. Go ahead.
But let me bring you back to the issue that I want to focus on, which is this notion that the Columbia Journalism Review is suggesting that there is a lack of progressive voices in the media. I mean, that just seems absurd.
But I mean, I would challenge anyone to point to an actual progressive voice, not somebody who's not a Republican, not somebody who criticizes Trump, but someone who's an actual full-on progressive, particularly if you think of progressive as an AOC or a Bernie Sanders. What voices are there that do that?
Have you watched MSNBC on weekends? I mean, Tiffany Cross, Al Sharpton.
Sure, I might
Joy Reid.
I would say maybe Al Sharpton,
Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes.
Right, but these are people that you have to remember. MSNBC in about 2015 changed their entire lineup and pulled most of their liberal programming in the morning and went to straight news. They pulled most of their liberal shows. They abandoned that lean forward concept, and it's now a more center network. You have a very conservative Morning Joe in the morning.
MSNBC is center?
Balanced. In other words, they have a lot of news. And they have Morning Joe, which is one of their more popular shows. And then, sure, you have Tiffany Cross and you have Rachel Maddow and things like that. But my point is, you've got on the right, you've got One American News, Newsmax, Fox News. What is the counter to that? What is the progressive counter to that? What, Democracy Now! Or something? Who's watching that?
But no one's watching OWN, and almost no one's watching Newsmax. So it's Fox News, but then it's not just the MSNBCs and the CNNs. It's also the broadcast networks, which, look, and again, I give them a lot of credit because I think a lot of them are fair, but a lot of them are also left-leaning. So there's a big problem out there with, from my perspective, the Columbia Journalism Review suggesting that the big issue is the lack of liberal progressive voices. I mean, anyway, get a 15-second response to being told to wrap.
Well, so I would just say that there are, again, if you look at the outlets, like you said, I mean, I agree with you about OAN and Newsmax, but there is no liberal counter. There's no liberal counter to that. And so I think if you can point to a progressive show, progressive voice that's like AOC, Bernie Sanders,
MSNBC.
And
Bernie Sanders would love most of the MSNBC hosts. Bernie Sanders would love Young Turk. Anyway, the notion
if you're comparing those numbers. If you're comparing those numbers, they don't compare.
Young Turks actually gets a ton of viewers. But anyway, all right. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on the show. I wish we'd had more time. Sorry, we got the dogs in the last segment sent us over.
If a dog takes my time, it's fine.
No offense, of course, but the dog broke my heart. Jonathan, thank you.
Doing the work.
Appreciate you coming on.
You.
We'll be right back. Time for the Mediaite Moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and the bull in the world of cable news and beyond. For the past 2 weeks, it seems just about everyone was talking about General Mark Milley and whether he committed treason based on reporting in Bob Woodward and Robert Costa's book Peril, which detailed phone calls with Milley and his Chinese counterpart about U.S. military plans and nuclear weapons procedure. The book said Milley assured General Lee, quote, "I can assure you that the American government is stable and everything's going to be okay," which sounded ominous. But when CNN's Jamie Gangel was the first to break the story on CNN, she took it a step further.
So just to set the stage, the headline from this is that on January 8th, 2 days after the insurrection, General Milley is shaken. And he had seen Donald Trump pull an end run, signing a rogue memo to withdraw from Afghanistan. So he had reason to worry that Trump, in his state of mind and what he had done before, might try to do something else.
Now, Jamie's a respected reporter. In that appearance, she directly read excerpts from the book, but the framing or setting of the stage got picked up by others who then took it to a new level.
Milley is now being accused of really bad stuff, treason.
Is it treason? Well, it was conspiracy to commit treason.
If he did that, it could be an act of treason. And
that's treason. I've had so many calls today saying that's treason.
Treason's a big deal. It's so bad that it's literally punishable by death. Yeah, so it's no wonder why during Thursday's Senate hearing, Milley addressed these allegations directly.
At Secretary of Defense Esper's direction, I made a call to General Lee on 30 October. 8 people sat in that call with me, and I read out the call within 30 minutes of the call ending. On 31 December, the Chinese requested another call with me.
Milley was convincing. His largely Republican critics calmed down on that issue, but only a few, like The View's Sonny Hostin, are willing to own up to the mistakes.
I was pretty harsh in my judgment of him because I even thought it was treasonous. That he sort of, my understanding was that he back-channeled with China.
Yeah.
He spoke directly to China without approval.
But that wasn't so.
But that wasn't so.
Right.
And that's how it was reported. And I really need to judge myself in that because I should know better.
Yeah.
And so I owe him an apology because he didn't act rogue.
But Milley didn't get a complete pass, particularly when asked about participating in several tell-all books that were less than flattering portrayals of the Trump White House.
Yes or no to this? Did you talk to Bob Woodward or Robert Costa for their book Peril?
Woodward, yes. Costa, no.
Did you talk to Carol Leonick and Philip Rucker for their book Alone Can I Fix It?
Yes.
Did you talk to Michael Bender for his book is Frankly, We Did Win This Election, the Inside Story of How Trump Lost? Yes.
Yes.
So Milley owned up to being a very high-ranking gossip.
One thing that Milley did fully admit to, he gossips like a mean girl in high school, to use a phrase, to every single reporter in town, even though he says, I don't disclose the conversations I have with the president. Unless your name is Woodward or Costa, then you tell him everything. Listen.
All right. But I just want honesty, and I also want some respect for our military leaders who've earned it, which the media did not afford Milley in those early days. We're out of time. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for another edition of the show, and we'll have more Mediaite Moments.